Donna because it means lady, and Terry should have been named Vivian because it means lively, and lively she was. As the mothers in the room well know, there are times when your children will try your patience. And when Terry was about 6 years old, this was one of those days. I remember my mother turning to her in exasperation and saying, "I've had it up to here with you." And Terry innocently looked up and said, "Yeah, but you still have this much left." Well, if you could have seen my mother's face. But as an adult, my sister told me she was not being sarcastic. Logically, to her, my mother hadn't reached her limit. That was Terry, testing the limits. And those limits expanded and extended beyond borders, because after being a civilian nurse in the ICU, she joined the US Air Force in 1979 as a commissioned officer and as a nurse. Before she retired as a lieutenant colonel with full honors, she had served in Turkey, Germany twice, Korea, the UK, and several states. My sister traveled all over the world, and I benefited with gifts, let me tell you. She was a staff nurse, a nurse manager, a recruiter, and her all-time favorite job, a flight nurse. She even met President Clinton when her unit's military plane was docked in Somalia as a temporary presidential unit, a hospital unit. During the bombing of Kenya in the embassy, we saw her on the news. She transported Kenyan patients on stretchers when they were delivered to Ramstein Hospital in Germany, where she was director of operations. But her compassion was not limited to her job. When a man fell outside a Florida Publix supermarket, she rushed across the parking lot and she stayed with him. She applied nursing care and comforted him until medical help arrived. As someone once told me, your sister is all heart. Terry loved nursing, it's true, but that wasn't her first ambition. No. As a little girl, she wanted to be a cowgirl. But growing up in Brooklyn, New York, she soon realized she'd have to find another career path. And we're all so grateful that she did. She used her nursing skills to advise me and was the very first person to diagnose my husband's diabetes. I remember that I was on a phone conversation and I said to her, "I can't believe it. Every time I go to the refrigerator, Ed finished all the water, he finished all the juice." And before I could finish, she said, "Diane, that is a classic sign of diabetes. Get him to a doctor." She was right. In 2015, when Ed had triple bypass surgery, she surprised me by coming in from Florida, booking a nearby hotel near the Cornell Weill Institute, and she became my husband's private duty nurse. She was there every day until 10 p.m. That was the first time Ed had ever seen her in action, and to this day, he says she was the best nurse he ever had. And her compassion was not exclusive to people. Her friend Donna brought her 2 rescued chihuahuas, Ekmek and Buddha. They flourished under her care. They were the love of her life until their death. And at that point, she started volunteering at a Florida Animal Rescue Center, which she remembered in her will. Yes, she was very compassionate, but she was not always easy to please. I remember in the 1980s, I was taking painting lessons. So I decided to create a still life that would have meaning for her and represent her. And I found a nurse's cap and a book and a Diet Pepsi. Anyone who knows her knows that she bought that by the caseload. And so I created this painting, and when I gave it to her, she said, "Is that all my life is? A nurse's cap? A book? A Diet Pepsi?" Not exactly the reaction I was going for. So now I had to think fast, and I said, "Terry, don't you know that art is symbolic? It's a metaphor for your life. The nurse's cap represents your compassion and your service to the world. And the book represents your intellectual curiosity and your thirst for knowledge. And I'm a good BSer, aren't I? And the Diet Pepsi represents your playful, fun-loving side. So she felt a little bit better after that. But I'll be damned if I ever saw that painting again anywhere in our house. Live and learn. Fast forward to June 14th, 2017. I called my sister while I was on a business trip. It was during that call that she announced that she had lung cancer. I remember my exact words. "Oh no, Terry, how can that be? You don't smoke." I was stunned and shocked. But her journey from that point on was one of incredible courage. She sailed through chemo, which was great until it stopped working. Then she opted for immunotherapy, and that put her in the hospital with myasthenia gravis, which weakened her muscles to the point where she couldn't drive and she needed a walker. And of course, while she was in the hospital, she fell and needed stitches. They put a catheter in her abdomen and later a second one. But she never lost her sense of humor. When they put in that second catheter, my sister said, "Now I'm just like my Aunt Denise. She has two." Okay. During this time, Terry's friend Donna Simpson was her guardian angel and unpaid private duty nurse. Her friends, Jackie Rock and Marty Matson, were always there to help. Donna moved into care for Terry 24/7. And on the night of May 7th, while Donna was sitting at Terry's bedside, she could see that Terry was slipping away. Donna started to cry. Terry, hearing this, looked up and said, "Donna, we can do this." Even in death, she was comforting others. As a professor at Solano College, Terry trained a new generation of nurses, and we're so glad to have you here today. Thank you for being here. And her legacy will live on through them and through you, and a nursing scholarship called the Teresa C. DiResta Scholarship, which she endowed at Wagner College. And we're so happy to have you, Dave, here today from Wagner. Susan Hardy, would you raise your hand? Susan is a graduate of Wagner's nursing program, and she's my high school friend. And I remember like yesterday when she came to our house and she told Terry all about Wagner and the generous scholarships they had for nursing students. We didn't have money for private college, and that one conversation changed her life. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Virginia. And thank you, everybody who was there. Thank you, Bianca, for years ago, helping her during her surgery at Walter Reed. Thank you, all of you, for the care that you gave my sister, because you gave us all peace of mind. And now, Terry, thank you for your service to our country as a military nurse. Knowing the military was your adopted family, we salute you. As a friend, a niece, a cousin, and a sister, you enriched our lives beyond measure. I'm glad you were my sister, and I was always proud of you. You lived your life to the fullest, and now we're here left to wonder, how can we go on without you? But Terry, I remember your words. We can do this. And now I'm going to turn it over to Kathy.